Okay, thank you very much for calling the Frankly Speaking program here on The Voice of Riches, your newest community network program from our network here in Riches Clarendon. First, I must advise you, listeners, that the program this morning will not be broadcasting the name or the voice of the callers. The fact that we are a new program in the making and the topics that we are discussing at this moment, we are not able to hear the voice of those who are calling. But I'm hearing the caller and you can't. Therefore, on the topic this morning, we continue to discuss the matter concerning George Henry. Mr. George Henry being the next Member of Parliament for Northwest Clarendon. It is my intention, based on my research, and each time I spoke on political topics, I am getting more interesting people out there responding to me in person, in writing, and via text. That's how much I know that this program is reaching people. Therefore, we'll continue the discussion this morning concerning and regarding the Member of Parliament for Northwest Clarendon. Many of us know that Mr. the Honorable Philip Enriquez is not able to do a second term facing the giant Mr. the Honorable Richard Hassan. And since I made my last publication concerning the two pictures that had been circulating in Northwest Clarendon concerning who may be up for the grab, I came, as I should say, into the ring and mentioned that my opinion, based on my research, is that two women, such as Sharon Hay Webster, who had a history of political activities running as member of parliament, and in her short term, if you want to put it that way, for some of us, had really made an impact. I do believe that she could be one of the choice that would come out of retirement. And if not, my second opinion for a female would have been the young lady from Riches herself, Miss Camille Marshall, as a young upcoming politician, to give basically, really, and in fact, the chance. But the people have spoken. Since my publication, I've been getting a lot of response from persons to say that the fact that Miss Camille Marshall had already gone to represent as a local councillor, it would have been better she continue to represent the Jamaica Labour Party in the opposition of a councillor locally. But if she had started to run for the member of parliament, then she could have been the one at the moment. So I listen to you carefully, the people out there, because you have spoken. But the giant of a winner is still before us, and the writing is on the wall that Mr. the Honorable Richard Hassan has no competition. Yeah, he has no competition. And this election, general election, would have really been one very colorful for the people of Northwest Clarendon if Mr. Richard Hassan has a challenger that will challenge him to put him at that point that he can show the best that he has. And I'm sure the people of Northwest Clarendon want a free, fair challenge of an election. But so far, my research is showing me that Mr. Richard the Honorable Hassan is in 80%. Yes, my poll is showing me Northwest Clarendon that Mr. Hassan is leading Mr. Enriquez at this moment up to the general election. 80% lead. Yeah, from my research, Mr. Enriquez is getting 20% or less, and Mr. Hassan is getting 80% or more. Now, I've heard quite a few persons, caller, who had really mentioned since last Monday to me, that George Henry, the principal of the Alphonsus Davis High School, would be a better choice than all the persons that I've mentioned. And I tell you this much, caller. I thought about what my listeners and viewers are saying, and I do believe I took to the streets just yesterday of Northwest Clarendon and asked quite a few people that I know, popular, known, and unknown, of what they would think about Mr. George Henry becoming the next Member of Parliament representative for the Jamaica Labour Party. And the response was overwhelming. The next Member of Parliament and can challenge Mr. Azan. Now, caller, and those who are listening me, Mr. George Henry, based on what I've known, has been a contributor to the media house, one of these main paper in this country. I believe it's the Gleaner. If I'm correct. If I'm not correct, then you may correct me. And he has also been a great contributor to the Star. And as I said before, if I'm not correct, you can correct me. But Mr. Henry had been a real great writer in Northwest Clarendon, as a writer in the papers here locally, and has also proven himself to be a very outstanding principal who have taken the Spalding High School from the batons of Mr. Alphonsus Davis, a true Jamaican hero, who is still alive. Yeah, he's a hero who is alive. And George Henry took that baton from Mr. Davis and had brought the school, Spalding High School, to a higher dimension. Because Spalding High School, I'm a second generation, and my son is a third generation of the Spalding High School, now Alphonsus Davis High School. And I must let the public know that, I could not have gone to college if it wasn't for Mr. Alphonsus Davis. Mr. Alphonsus Davis really, as a principal, had looked out for us children. But when he passed the baton on to Mr. Henry actually, caller, became my son's principal. So you know what that means for someone like me who's very interested in education, in developing of our young minds, especially my son. So I spent a lot of time going to the school on many different occasions as a guest speaker, at functions and sports and so forth, and had the opportunity to speak to Mr. George Henry on several occasions. This morning, caller, I want to let the public know here on Frankly Speaking with the Action Man that all the names I've mentioned in my past political commentaries have now gone under the carpet. Yes. And I am now proposing to the public that based on my polls, Mr. George Henry will be and can be the only person in Northwest Clarendon that will challenge Mr. Richard Azan to the poll. We love Mr. Richard Azan. Let me tell you the truth. We love Mr. Richard Azan. Because why we love Mr. Richard Azan, you may say, caller, put politics aside now. We in Northwest Clarendon, especially in the Spalding area, we grew up around Mr. Richard Azan, and he's always on the street, day and night, in case anything goes wrong. You can call on him, you can knock at his door. For people, many times you go to JP and many JPs don't want to sign your document. And I've seen where Mr. Richard Azan on many occasions put away his food, put away, a little of his expensive and very busy timing schedule to make way to sign documents for people. And many people appreciate him for the time that he spent to guide them and guard them, and also helping even to sign a piece of paper as a JP. Not just that. As a child going to school, I remembered when Mr. Azan used to sell patty and bag juice along with his mother. Yes, many don't even know that. His mom used to make patties, and Mr. Azan would sell us as children to patty and bag juice. And he made me my first business proposal, where he said to me one day, Miss Tenzi boy, If you get me some students to come and buy some more of my patty, then, I will give you a little free patty tomorrow. Well, the truth is, those days, we were struggling and couldn't afford patty. And Mr. Azan did help many of us who didn't have lunch. All we had to do is to advertise his patty business. And we watched Mr. Hassan right there, made himself into a man. And even when he was going to study to do law, I laughed and I said, "You're going to be a lawyer?" And he said, yeah. One day you're going to hear about me, the lawyer. And I'll never forget.
You're listening to
caller.
The Voice of Riches, brought to you by Lajamkin Group of Companies, including Oxford Spring Healing Water, Flight Lando Express, AW Immigration Services, The Voice of Riches, your educational, motivational, and inspirational program. Tune in and be blessed.
So